Alrighty, welcome to a Gamer's Guide to Productivity, the podcast that helps gamers excel in both the virtual live, virtual life, and real lives. I'm your host Nico Pingan, and today's episode we have a returning guest. It's going to be a special one as we dive into the highly acclaimed, award-winning Netflix series Arcane, based off of my recommendation. Our guest
Mhm.
today, Sebastion Mauldin, uh, Mauldin, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
From the Pro Nerd Report has watched the show. We're going to be discussing our in depth review. We're going to analyze the captivating storyline, the exceptional animation, the lessons we can learn from the character stories, the music. Get ready for an insightful conversation that combines our love of gaming and our passion for exploring the rich narratives of gaming inspired content. So let's jump into the world of Arcane and uncover the secrets it holds. So thank you so much, Sebastian.
No, man, thank you so much for allowing me to be on the show again. Always a pleasure to speak to you and to talk to this audience. And yeah, I'm excited to talk all things arcane and League of Legends.
Alrighty. So you were saying earlier, I didn't even have this on, as a question, but you were saying earlier that you already started having some League of Legend game, not necessarily the main game, but something similar. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So after playing or after watching Arcane, I was sort of interested in League of Legends, but I'm still a little hesitant to jump on proper League of Legends,
No, it's
the game.
understandable.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those things to where I'm like, I do not want to get curb stomped with a game that's been out for years and years at this point. There's a lot of yeah, there's a lot of in-depth knowledge and understanding of those gameplay mechanics
Very
that
true.
it has like a huge hurdle for me. But in so instead of doing that, I was offered a review code for the Mage Seeker, the new League of Legends game. And the
Mm.
Mage Seeker stars Silas from the mainstay League of Legends game, and it's his story. It's an action RPG, very linear based. It reminds me a lot of Hades. I don't know if you ever played Hades, but it kind of reminds me of Hades with a little bit of Diablo thrown into that. So like really fun spin-off game. It came out in spring of 2023 this year and developed by Digital Sun, the same studio behind the amazing game Moonlighters. And so yeah, I really played that all the way through to the end and really enjoyed it. I was really engrossed with Silas's story, and man, it makes me want more standalone League of Legends properties. Like the Arcane and the Mage Seeker both have like convinced me like this is a world that I absolutely am fascinated with. I just, like I'm a little tentative on jumping on proper League of Legends game, but I'm
Oh no.
fascinated with this lore.
Oh no, that's fine. So today we're just gonna dive deep into the content that was inspired so much by the actual games
Mhm.
that the creators of the game decided to create the lore. So it was a fan originated content. And so the first question would be what were your initial impressions of Arcane, and did it live up to your initial expectations as a gamer who loves a good story and music?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a really good question. So first off, I want to break it down into the first question you asked. I outside of people like you who was telling me to check this Arcane out, I really didn't have super deep impressions of the show. I know like I knew that it came out to critical acclaim. A lot of
Mhm.
people were saying it's one of the best video game adaptations of all time. At the time at that time in what was it 2021? Yeah, that it came out. So like I had those type of expectations for it, but all of a sudden like I I don't know, I started episode 1 and everything was going smoothly and I was just kind of like, "Oh, okay, this is a pretty good show." It feels like a more adult version of like Avatar the Last Airbender. That's kind of like the initial impressions that I got. It was almost like a steampunk version of that, but with a more of an adult kind of tone to it. And I was just like, okay, I can dig that. And then like as episode 1 like started continuing to develop its stories and introducing these very nuanced characters, that's when I was like, oh snap, this is something special. Like this is something that very different that I wasn't quite expecting. And that's by episode 2, I think the hook kind of like sunk all the way into me and I was just like, I need this into my veins like right now.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Was it the same experience for you the first time you saw it?
Not really, because before the show even came out, I was already hyped. I was already hyped because Jinx, as a player,
Mhm.
at that point in time when it was about to be coming out, I was a Jinx main player.
Oh,
So,
wow.
I was a Jinx main, and
Mhm.
so this show coming out, I was like foaming at the mouth. I was like, we're gonna get an actual show with millions of dollars of budgeting, marketing, voice acting, animation, cinematography, editing, music, mastery, a whole bunch of industries all tapping into this. Same with like I think it was like theatrical work too,
Yeah.
and like building the scenes and stuff like that. There's so much that went into it, and as a Jinx player, I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is gonna be amazing. So I was super pumped for that, and so now, as a Jinx player, it was super biased, so it was like it was automatically gonna be good regardless if it was good. But I was like, oh my goodness, this is actually good! Like, oh my goodness, I don't have to be embarrassed that I like this. Like, yes, it's really good.
I have
But that
so
made
many questions based off of that. Like you being a long-term fan of like League of Legends and stuff like that, dude. So when they announced that this was catered towards Jinx, like is a lot of that story that we got in Arcane told in the League of Legends game proper?
yeah.
Like, did you already know she was like this level of
Yes,
crazy?
yes, yes. So
Okay.
just so like for fans who or individuals who have no idea, in the game, you're essentially it's a MOBA, a massively online battle arena. So just think like
Hmm.
if it was a death match kind of thing, like you just got random people from like different walks of life. They're all just randomly thrown onto this like chessboard kind of thing. They got different powers. So Jinx, her power is that for whenever she like kills somebody, she increases her speed, her velocity. She goes a little bit cuckoo, and like the more she kills,
Okay.
like the crazier and the faster she becomes. And so and it doesn't even have to be she kills it. It could be like she just damaged somebody and then like now her attack
Hmm.
speed is like ridiculously fast. And so and her backstory in the game, it says that something happened to her when she was young that made her like mentally like cuckoo. And so and so
Unstable.
we don't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
exactly what it was. It just like she grew up in the slums, and like you can only imagine, like, oh, maybe she was an orphan. Like what exactly happened? And now you can see, whoa, this is what happened that
Hmm.
made her into this character. And then as we go on, like it goes to like the end. Like her ultimate is like the end of the show. Like that is her ultimate in the
Yeah.
game. And it's radically crazy because it's like you're about to get into peace, and it's like now you're doing a crazy move, and you just killed the person that cared about you the most. But we're gonna get to there. We're gonna get to there. Now, how would you describe the storytelling in Arcane, and what elements stood out to you personally the most?
That's a very good question. The story, I like the story in Arcane because it like on the outside looking in, it's almost like it starts off as a slow burn. You think like it has some parallels to the Game of Thrones level of storytelling, to where like the main what you who you think is the main character is not the main character at all. Because like initially on the outside looking in, I thought maybe because I had no idea that this story revolved around Jinx, this story revolved around Violet. My main I thought maybe the father figure was the main character of the
Oh
show.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, 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 yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah, so I thought maybe the father figure is the main character of the show. And a la like Ned Stark, they pull that rug right from under you very quickly. Yeah,
Yo,
very
he looks
quickly.
like
And
Ned
you
Stark too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's a lot of elements to Game of Thrones in this show, like, and I think, like, and it's not to say like, they copied, obviously, like, the Game of Thrones kind of changed the way, like
Yes.
we have
Yes.
storytelling in media, like that way that we have a whole bunch of nuanced characters that have all sorts of different motivations that all come together and they're all playing on the same chessboard. Like League of Legends, Arcane, like Arcane specifically feels like
Right,
that.
right.
Like it feels like we met so many characters, so many different people who have so many different walks of life, and each one of them have like their own slight motivations that make them just a little bit more dangerous than the people around them. And it's the way that they kind of use like their motivations and their like logic to rally people around them, or like to foster like that found family, to maybe like manipulate like the people around them as well. It's like it's so good. It's such good writing. For instance, like Powder and the evolution of that character of like you always saw that Powder, who later becomes Jinx, is like always wants that element of family. She always wants the level of acceptance. She always like craves for someone to care about her and love her for just the person she is. And it turns out like as she slowly is demoralizing into Jinx and such like that, like there's this one manipulative guy that comes in and he shows that he cares about her throughout the whole journey of her like degeneration into Jinx and such like that. And that's it's just that level of storytelling there that it's like that's what makes this like story so special. It's not even the fact that it has really cool animation. It has like really good cinematography. It has like these very high level action set pieces and such like that. It's that very nuanced storytelling that really makes this like IP stand out and really made me crave every single episode. Every single episode ends, and I'm like, I gotta start the next one. Let's
Facts.
let's start it up. Let's start it up.
Facts,
Yeah,
facts.
it's that story, man.
Now for sure. But for me personally, in addition to the story, you know, could you
Mhm.
discuss how the music was so impactful and how it really enhanced the overall experience of watching the show?
Oh man, it's almost like it's not quite the lifeblood. It's not like the show revolves around its music, but it does amplify it to a huge extent. Like, you start off with that banger from Imagine Dragons, and like at the very beginning of the show with the opening
Mhm.
credits, where it's like, "Oh, the enemy," and it's like it's already setting that battleground. Oh
You
yeah,
know what I'm
man, it's
saying? I'm
already
already
setting that
hyped
like
thinking about it.
yeah, it's already setting the tone of like everybody wants to be my enemy.
Ooh, hit
It's
that
like that
note too.
always
Okay.
yeah. Man, I can't sing it for damn, but like it's already like setting that tone of like everyone has their own motivations. Everyone's out to get one
Right.
another, and everyone is like there's lines in the sand, and despite like who you are or who you're rooting for in this, is like everyone is out to get one another in one like facet or another. And that's like that's that that's where that music comes into play because it highlights every single little grain of storytelling that they're setting up. It comes from like the musical cues, like the suspenseful music, the trap, like the subtle trap music you hear is when they introduce like echo and such like that. It's like they have like each character has their own musical theme as well in this. I don't know if you noticed that as well, but it's amazing how well like the musical production like amplifies what's going on in the show.
And then just to give some insight, like those are the characters' musics during the game. So in the
What?
game, like specific characters, they have like a specific
Mhm.
music, they have specific sounds too. So they did it so justice that somebody that never played the game can fall in love and make a distinguishment between the specific sounds and music. So that way you kind of know like whose kind of a moment it is based off of like the kind of a music. I did want to ask you too. I didn't put that on here. Like,
Mhm.
which one was like your specific musical moment throughout like the 8 episodes? Like, which one was the moment where I was like, man, this moment right here with music, like with this music, with like the way that it was building, like just perfect. And if you can't come up with one,
Yeah.
like a list.
No, no, yeah, it's all good. Like the what's his name? Silco. Like I love Silco's theme in this. Like the fact that you kind of get like that it's almost like that twisted manipulative
Yeah.
theme, and you always know like something's like boiling under the surface. It's not just that what you see is what you get. I love that kind of manipulative kind of character there. So I'm like Silco's kind of theme, and then like what was it? What is the councilman's name? Like the old like young the old kind of like small
Like the
councilman
Yoda
who kind
looking
of
thing,
reminds you
like
of the Yoda
his
fiddle. Yeah.
Heimerdinger.
Heimerdinger's like music. It has that sense of discovery and hope, and it has like, it mixes in those scientific elements with like that sense of like, oh, this character is, even though he has like, he seems like a hard ass, like he has like that sense of
Mhm,
discovery
mhm.
to him. He has that sense of like hope. He loves the human element, like he believes
Right.
in people, but it has that very scientific vibe to it, that sci-fi vibe to it, and I really dig those kind of themes because like I like music where it kind of subtly amplifies or at least like illustrates the character's like motivations or like who that character is. And that's why I like really like Silco's. Victor had some pretty cool music in this too, but like him and Heimerdinger like really like stood out to me. What about you?
So for me, it was so hard to pick because I liked all of them so good. But easily, like the moment I saw this scene and the music just started, I was like, ah! It was when Wonder Boy and Powder were going
Oh,
back and forth,
mhm.
and it was just like looping from Jinx and Echo and Wonder Boy and Powder, and it's like two close friends like play fighting together, and then like at the same time now that she's a little cuckoo or whatever, like they're adults and
Yeah.
now they're on the opposite ends of like a political statement. And like right there and then in our faces, it's like an animated, like political, like, you know, you're this way, I'm this way, even though in another world, we would have been best friends, like even a potential like romantic like element to it right there, like
Yeah,
right
for
at the
sure.
end where it's like, man, like I liked you at one point, or like we were family at one point, but like, and then the music just like makes it so like. I watched it like so okay. I watched Arcane like a lot, but then I watched that specific scene like at least like 100 times, like on social media. Like as soon as that episode came out, I was just like, oh my goodness, like are you kidding me? Just like, yo, the music was so good during that scene. It was just it encompassed both of them perfectly. It encompassed the scene, the emotion, the audacity. Like, how dare you like try to kill me? Like, I just try to save you, or like I was your friend in a lifetime ago. How can you not remember this? And it's like, nah, you're defending somebody who's taken away from my livelihood. So it's like emotionally triggering because again,
Mhm.
I'm team Powder over here. But like I used to play Echo a couple of times before, so I'm like, I don't
Mhm.
know how I feel about this, but I love the fact that they didn't kill each other. I was like, oh my goodness, thank goodness nobody died there because I would have been really sad. Like, man, these are like really dear to me. And like the music just made it even more of an epic moment, honestly. Like, oh, it was so good.
So let me ask you, like, so all these, like, are all these characters that we see in Arcane playable in the game? Like, I know we have Violet, we have Powder. I know probably the council people aren't playable, but are is like characters like Silco, Victor, and Vander
So
playable?
the individuals, I would say, just to give a big hint, the individuals who have
Okay,
a lot of screen time and a lot of talking time are playable. And if they're
like Heimerdinger too.
I used to play Heimerdinger.
What?
He's a intellectual mage in the game whose
Okay,
thirst for knowledge is unmatched by almost any individual. So he loves
okay.
tinkering or whatever. Like, we'll get to it. But when he gets banished from the council and he goes and meets Echo, like him and Echo uh actually create like the same thing that Jace created, but like almost like a
Mhm.
scrapyard version of like everything that
Oh
they create,
wow.
but that's in the game. So like in the story,
Mhm.
like I know where it's going. Like, oh, he's getting banished. Like he's gonna go meet with Echo. I'm like, oh, this is where he transfers the knowledge because like a lot of the moves that Echo does is with the special crystal, with the with the
Oh
power,
yeah.
the whatever they call it. Like it slipped my mind now, but with that special crystal, which is pretty much like mana, essentially.
Mhm.
But just
It is very Final
you know what I'm saying?
Fantasy.
It's pretty much just like mana, but it's like, they gotta give it a tangible name, like, oh, we created mana pretty much. But yeah, that's pretty much what they do. They create this. So that's why it's like these characters, they're all individual, but they all have a story that gets interwoven. And they did an amazing part by from young, introducing the stories, the Imagine Dragon theme, to then at the end where you hear more Imagine Dragon themes. Like again, like
Mhm.
another amazing time was like when the soldiers are trying to find them, like as the kids or whatever,
Oh,
and
so
like the
good.
songs are like going off or whatever. It's like right before they enter there, like they're like, wait, hold on, like wait a minute, and it's like everything is dead silent, and I'm like, okay, there's gonna be an epic song right now about to go down, and then it goes
And
down,
it
and
does.
like the song goes down, and like they're just like running away and fighting, and then I'm just like, yo, this is so good. And it's like I don't know what's gonna
It is
happen
really
because
good.
a lot of the characters, they look like playable characters too. That's the other thing too.
Mhm.
Like a lot of like the spoiler alert, like the kids that she blew up, like a lot of them, they look like like there's like 180 characters, and I might get crucified
Are you
by the
kidding me? There's
I might get
180
crucified by like
characters
the
in that
League of
game?
Legends community, but there's like a plus 150 easy, I think, like, and they're still introduced because they introduce like 15 per year or something like that, or at least it feels like that.
What?
And so like a lot of those characters, like they could be potentially like dropping, like definitely like towards the end of the show, like the last 2 or 3 episodes, you see more characters being introduced from like different countries and
Mhm.
different areas. Those could be playable characters. And if not playable
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
playable in the future because they get introduced all the time. Like Silco, just spoiler, he's not playable in the game, but they had a different version of a game called TFT, which is like an auto chess team fight
Okay.
tactics, and he was playable in that game. Um,
Oh, that's really
and like
cool.
the girl that was his right hand, like Renetta, I think her name was, I forgot. Like
Mhm.
she became playable after the show was over. So she wasn't playable like during the show, but after the show, people loved her fight scene with Vi, which that was such an epic song too.
Oh, it
It
was
was so
so
it was like
dope.
like it was like two Valkyries fighting each other. It was just like, haymaker after haymaker. It was so good. Okay, all right, I'm getting too hyped. Let me stay focused.
No, no, go ahead. I love the energy. I love
Which
the
characters,
energy.
when you saw in Arcane, resonated with you the most, and why do you think that is?
Like I Echo for one, and being a chocolate man, I'd love to see that representation there. I also like, yeah, I love to see the representation there. I also love to see the nuanced way they treated his like whole demeanor, from the swaggy way he like carried himself, all like when he was an adult, all the way to like the caring way he was a kid. They killed it with the hair, by the way, too. I'm
Facts.
like, black hair, yeah, black hair is not something we see like done really well in like shows and games and such like that. So I was really excited to see like them actually show like caring and understanding of black hair with Echo. So yeah, that really stood out to me. Like there's so many really cool characters. Like Vi's whole story, really just resonated with me. Like the way that it was the rags to witches kind of story. Also, like the adopted siblings aspect of like she is the one these kids look up to, and it's like she is also like a very like a flawed character in this, is that she's trying to figure out like her own understanding and purpose in the world that she's in as well. So it's like I like seeing the dichotomy there of like of her trying to figure out her place in the world while also like having that burden of responsibility of like having to be the like the leader of these kids, because like these kids are looking up to
Mhm.
her. Everything that they do and everything that happens is almost like a reflection on Vi's leadership
Facts.
in
Facts.
this. If Vi had handled things in a
Yes.
different way from like the very beginning, like the whole like chain of events would have
Right.
changed. And so
Yes.
like yeah, it's like this story is like a very simple story of cause and effect, but like of like Vi's of like what happens with Vi and the way she handles things has huge ramifications for the whole story. But Powder is like also like how she handles those ramifications have like a huge effect on like how the story progresses as well. So it's like those like Vi is such a like interesting character, and also like I really love flawed characters in like any narrative, because like I feel like that's where you really get that meat and potatoes when it comes to storytelling there. So I really just resonate really hard with Vi.
No, that's actually pretty epic because like everybody sees the crazy that Powder becomes into Jinx, but a
Mhm.
lot of people fail to recognize the fact that because Vi made a lot of foolish leadership decisions, like she didn't stop
Yeah.
Jinx enough, she didn't explain enough, she wasn't empathetic enough, caring enough to recognize that Powder's just a kid. And she's focused on like, I want to help, and her version of help is not the same version of Vi. And like, you can't just scream to a kid. That's why like in the game of League of Legends, like a lot of like the characters, they'll have like voice things like after every certain time,
Mhm.
like they'll say a random thing. And so like one of the things that Jinx says is like, you think I'm crazy, you should meet my sister, meaning Vi. And a lot of people are like, why would
Yeah.
she say that? Like, she's way crazier than Vi. It's like, but as you broke it down, like, is she really? Because Jinx was just literally, she would say like, this is what I'm trying to do, and actually do it. Like, I'm trying to help, but my version of help is to blow everything up. Vi's like, I'm gonna go and help them, and then like make it a complete mess by like being in the wrong place at the wrong time, bringing Caitlyn around, like, and it's like, bro, you bring in
Yeah.
the warden that's trying to bring your sister in, like, what? That's not smart. That's crazy. Like, how could you do that? You bringing in somebody who's trying to bring your sister in, and your sister blew up like a huge amount of the population or whatever, a wanted criminal. And it's
Mhm.
like, you're still, and instead of trying to bring your sister in, which is what you should be doing if you weren't crazy, but you're crazy enough to try to amend bridges. And that's why it's like, to understand that, when people are like, oh, Vi's not crazy. No, no, no. You have to understand, to want to bring like a mass murderer to peace with like, the daughter, like the warden or whatever, Caitlyn is or whatever. And the game, they're like always against each other because again, Jinx is a criminal and like Caitlyn is like police, and then like Vi is the
Yeah.
crazy in betweener because she's literally like stuck in between the system of jail because she's getting punished for all the actions that she's done or whatever. But then like,
Oh,
and
that's
then like,
interesting.
if Jinx is like, I haven't got caught yet, I'm good at what I do, what I'm saying? So it's like, and
Mhm.
then now to get lesser of a sentence, it's like, you can hunt your sister down, whatever. It's like, girl, you crazy. And then instead of hunting her down, you're not actually taking her in, because you could take her in and get your sentence revoked and all that stuff, but she's not even taking her in and not even escaping either. So yeah, that's why it's like, yeah, that's a perfect representation. Whenever Jinx says like, yeah, you should see my sister, she's really crazy. It's like, yeah, the way you explained it, yeah, her leadership decisions, towards the end, you started to see a more mature version, like when she started to be more empathetic. But then, like, you're being empathetic, like, while having her mortal enemy right there. Like, how at
Yeah.
like, yeah, this, like, during the teacup, how is at this point in time you're actually being an empathetic sister? And it's like, hey, like, you didn't do anything to her, did you? And then it's like, oh, so now that I have your girlfriend, now you want to be a good sister, huh? And I'm just like,
Mhm.
dog, like, yo, I was so hyped when I heard that. I'm like, yo, it's so funny. Um, but yeah, that's why I really like the show, because there's so many different elements. Every character, especially playable characters, like, you see a real thorough look at who they are, why they are like in the game, like, just like when you see Vibe suit up and become a police officer, and she gets those Hectex gauntlets in the game, she plays with
Yeah.
those Hectex gauntlets. Like, she's a fighter in the game. Jinx actually does what she did in the cut in like when they were escaping, like right before in the arcade, and
Mhm.
like, you can never beat Jinx or Powder. You can never beat Powder at a shooting game. She knows how to shoot. In the game, she's a marksman. So she shoots so
Oh,
she shoots
okay.
and she don't miss. That's why whenever she hits somebody, her attack speed goes crazy because she uses a minigun because she crazy. She uses a minigun and rocket launchers as her primary weapons of choice. And Vi uses Hextech's gauntlets of choice. She likes to go
Mhm.
in and like hit. Ba, 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 ba.
Up close and personal, yeah.
Exactly. She doesn't
See.
like to be far away. She likes to get in. And that's why, like, when you saw like the echo scenes and like Vi teaching the kids how to fight, was because Vander taught her how to fight. Like, hey, you want to
Yeah, for
be out
sure.
here in these streets like me? Because remember, they're all orphans of war, of like because there was a war that happened between like the rich and the poor.
Yeah, the Civil
So
War.
he's like, if you want to be, if you want to at least, make yourself adequately or whatever, you got to defend yourself. And you're the oldest of all these kids. So, you got to defend yourself. But yeah, definitely solid choice in like Vi definitely top tier, one of like the mainstays of Arcane for sure.
And even then, like, you look at, and, I know, like, a lot of people say, like, Vander had a lot to do with, like, the destruction like, these characters, and while I admit, like, Vander probably did have a hand in, like, some of the, like, detriments of, like, Vi and also, like, of Powder, it's like, Vander was also an advocate of
Yes.
peace, and, like, he was advocating peace the whole entire way through, like Vander through to, because he had been there and done that, was like always trying to preach like the nuance and like the complexities of like every situation, and you can't just like dive into it with like craving war, because that leads to like impulse like decisions, and those impulse decisions have like huge ramifications for the people around you. And like it's that level of storytelling, like because like Vi didn't listen, and, like, everything came full circle because of that?
Big time. And you can also see that Vander has the guilt of I'm
Yeah.
just like you, so I can't tell you no better. Like he has that guilt instilled where he can't put the hard fist down and be like, like let me turn you in. He's like, no, I'm just like you. Any at any moment in time, people can take me in. And that's why people forget. People forget he's a double agent because he traded in his freedom to be an informant kind of thing. Like people are forgetting.
Mhm.
That's why he is always telling the people, like, "Hey, peace is the way to go." Because he knows if he don't push the peace, not only are they gonna come for him first, they're gonna come for everybody that he's trying to help. And he understands that, and that's why it's such a good story because he understands. Like, I can't tell them, hey, don't do this because I would be doing that if I wasn't tied with my hands behind my back because of these people. So it's literally like almost like the mafia boss, like almost El
It
Chapo.
is.
Like I gotta talk to the police like that, but like my minions, hey, I can't tell them what to do. Come on now. Like, it's literally like what he tells them when they come in, like, hey, y'all didn't see these kids blow up like half the city. It's like me? Like,
Mhm.
I'm under house arrest. I got the celly right here. Like, I got this right here. What you talking about? Like, anytime y'all call, like, what you need? I'm sitting here at the bar. I don't know what's going on. As you know, your job is to tell us what's going on because you're at the bar. It's like, well, I ain't here, but nobody says. Everybody knows not to talk to me because they know I'm affiliated with you. Like, what's up? And it's so funny because when
Yeah.
he goes to the weapon shop or whatever with Echo, whatever, that's the first thing the dude says. Like, man, why am I even gonna talk to you, man? Like, you talking to the, 50, like you talking to the police. Like, why would I even talk to you? He's like, come on, man, like you gotta do me a solid or else they're gonna come to you. It's like, so if you don't help me help you, they're gonna help themselves to your stuff. Which is a phenomenal story. Especially, I love that interaction that they have. Because again, remember, the more somebody speaks, just assume they could be a playable character. But I did want to say before we continue, that I wanted to take a quick break to let you know, uh, everybody, about my esteemed guest Sebastion Mauldin, as well as his podcast, the Pro Nerd Report. And I'm gonna give him just a couple of moments to explain about his show, where you guys can find him on social media, where you guys can support him. So that way, if you really liked his input, you can also be a fan of his as well.
Oh, thank you very much for the time here. So, like, yeah, I'm Sebastian. I host, I write for the ProNerdReport.com, and I host the podcast, the Single Player Experience podcast. It is the premium place for single player gamers to find out about the good single player games they like to play, and just to hear about the games that they should have in their video game backlog. Yeah, so yeah, I'm a general podcaster, a video game writer as well, and I love nuanced storytelling. So if you are a person who wants to know about good single player games to play, really loves storytelling, really loves like hard hitting games that kind of have a purpose to them, the Hades of the world and everything in between, and you're a person who wants to know about the up and coming indie games that you should definitely have on your radar, you should definitely check out the Single Player Experience podcast. You can find it on all your favorite podcast platforms. You can find it, which includes Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So yeah, definitely check me out there. Or you can also go to the pronerdreport.com, where you can check out written reviews and listen to the podcast from there. So yeah, I thank you for the time there, Nico. But man, I got a
Go
question
for
for
it.
you before we continue on with the podcast. So League of Legends has the is such an it is ingrained with all these like realistic characters with realistic motivations, even though this is a high fantasy sci-fi world that they're living in. I one of the things that I got out of the Mage Seeker, a League of Legends story, is like that game is focused on Silas, and that is not a character that was featured in Arcane at all. But what that game kind of told me is that we can have a whole lot of like single player games based on League of Legends characters because they're so deep with the way that they tell stories. Like I don't know if you know this, but like Echo right now has a League of Legends game coming out specifically about that character, and it's called Echo Champion Spotlight right now, and it just came out a little bit ago. And it's an action adventure platformer. But what I'm getting at all this is like it would be really cool if we can see more shows like Arcane, more games like a Maid Seeker and such like that in this, and expand this universe out for further. Like, what character do you think would make a really cool video game, and what other side story would you like to see in as a different show
So
completely?
I'll put you on game if you didn't know. So
Okay, go ahead.
Marvel and League of Legends actually have a collaboration where they actually have comic books per like almost every world of the show.
Oh, I didn't know
So
that.
for example, like League of Legends, like the map, like if you pull it up,
Hmm.
like let me actually pull it up for everybody that can visually see. Um it's like if I feel like this is like a history lesson in League of Legends.
I need it too because like Arcane is my first ever exposure into anything League of Legends, and then like the Maid Seeker sort of elaborates on a completely different tale that's like very much separated from mainline the Arcane storyline. So I'm like I'm very much happy to have that history lesson.
Yeah, let me just pull this up. I'm pulling up the map of not the show or the game, but
Hmm.
like the world of actual League of Legends. Um, it's pretty big, and even this is just like again like uh, a potential representation of the actual show. Let me see. I'm sharing my screen here.
And it's crazy you said the world of League of Legends because like that's basically the whole championship for the league is like League of Legends World Championship.
So as we see here,
Hmm.
and I'm not even the best to explain. Somebody's gonna be like, ah, you explain it wrong. All right, this is the best knowledge that I got. Okay, so my understanding is, that all of this is like think of like our world, like they're different continents, different,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
each continent think of it like it's its own universe of like everything. Think of it like that. And
Okay.
so the reason why I want you to think of it like that, because like in one area it could be like Russia, very cold, very harsh, specific kind of animals. In a different place it could be a complete desert. Everything is totally different, like that.
Okay.
Not definitely a different universe, but like the complete difference, as well as like of culture, of like understanding and whatnot. Now if my eyes serve me right, okay, if my eyes serve me right, one of these areas is where the show takes place.
Okay. That makes
Um,
sense.
and it's Zon and Piltover, which Piltover right here and Zon right there. So
Okay.
the show is based off of these two. So remember, they mentioned that there was like a civil war.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is the area that they're talking about. Piltover is like where Caitlyn is from, so it's like upscale,
The high
nice,
class.
yeah, high class, elitist, 1%. Like you saw in the if you watch the show towards the end, Caitlyn is like graduating from like high school or
Hmm.
college or whatever, and like her parents are like, "Yeah, you're gonna do this and that." And she's like, I want to be in the police, and they're like, "What? You want to work in Zon? Girl, you crazy. We got you lined up with a bachelor." And then she was like, I want to go down there. I'm like, no, honey, you go down there, you might not come back. You know what they do to people over there. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's the world of League of Legends. But then you have like all of this other stuff over here, right? And so, for example, Mage Seeker is Demacia. This is the world.
Yeah. Mhm.
This is the world of Lux. Lux. Okay, everybody's gonna hate me. I used to love Lux. Lux main. Lux is one of the most hated champions because she is like League of Legends main cash cow. Like every player or almost every player almost like buys a Lux skin. It's almost like I don't know why, but it's like statistically
Huh.
speaking, like they keep releasing Lux skins because people keep buying them every year. Like there's characters that will never see a skin in the game, but Lux is so popular because her story is so popular. Like her background about like she's in a country where they ban magic and she's like the
Yep.
one of the most powerful mages in the area. And then like Silas is this revolutionist of like
Mhm.
everybody has the right to freedom to express their magic. You know, that's his mindset. That's his policy. And it's like when you see the show, like like unfortunately, or for me, it's like automatically like I start to see like myself in these characters where it's like, man, like that reminds me of like, yeah, in this country or in this situation, like they don't give us the right to do this or whatever. Like I need to rise up. And like that's where like this like amazing attachment comes in. And if everybody cares, like the Marvel and League of Legends collaboration, like one of the best stories is the Lux and Silas story, where where you're actually witnessing like real time in a comic, like what they're actually thinking as a character. You know, Silas being locked up for many years because he has the power to steal and copy. Everybody was like, well, "Who cares?" Like, yeah, think about if somebody has like a glitch in the Matrix. Like, all you have to do is be near a person, and now you get to steal their ability. Like Lux's ability is like the magic of light. You know, he can steal that. Boom. If somebody else's ability is speed, now he can steal that. You know, Garen, I don't know if he's in Mage Seeker, but
Yeah.
Garen,
Mhm.
like his ability to like regenerate, be powerful, robust. Yeah, if you're fighting Silas and he was just about on 1 HP, now you get the Garen, you know, magic or whatever. Now, boom, now you're back to like full health. And it's like I'm one upping you. Like his magic almost like it drains you and it makes him more powerful.
I love
Um,
that.
so the whole like the whole history of League of Legends is primarily locked into like these areas. Like another one of the shows, or the comic episodes or whatever
Mhm.
is like Ash and like the Fred, I can't even say it, Freljord or whatever. Like that's based off like heavy like Norse mythology, like Arctic
Oh, that's so cool.
mythology, you know, like a Viking mythology. Like you see a lot of like characters like that in there. Now towards the end of the show, back going back to Arcane, towards the end of the show, you start seeing like Noxus come into the role. Like you start seeing the lady that the
Shula's
dark
mom.
yes, yes. You start
Shula's
seeing,
mom. Uh-huh.
yeah, I forgot like the dude's name, the dude that was with Victor. What's his name? I forgot his name.
Um, Dang it. Now I'm blanking
It's
out
like
his name.
not Jarvan.
Yeah. You're talking about the guy with the cane?
No. That's Victor. What's the other
Yeah,
dude?
that is Victor. Okay, so there was Councilman, there was Miranda. Jace is not him.
Jace, yes,
Jace,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
uh-huh.
Okay, so Jace. So it's like, you know, when you have like these characters and whatnot, and they're essentially like starting to collaborate together. They're starting to build a world together. But then like you get hit with Noxus, which Noxus, think of Noxus like literally Noxus is like the United States of America. Like
Okay.
Noxus will go to like every country and annex it. They will take and they try to avoid war as much as possible,
Mhm.
but they will take because they think that they're like, you know, it's just like the saying that, you know, we deserve to like have like all this land. There used to be a saying in the United States.
Yeah.
So think of Noxus like that they're expansive. And so now they're talking to Piltover because like obviously they're looking at what's going on in regards to like the technology that is being developed, and they see technology, they hear weapons of mass destruction. Like
Mhm.
literally, think about it. from the transportation aspect, like facilitating quick movement from troops to food to weapons, etc. Quick transport to like also like actually doing damage, which you can see Hex Tech and like
Yeah.
the rocket that Jinx did. Like those are weapons of mass destruction that the magic or whatever created. But yeah, that's the world of League of Legends. Tune in next time. Maybe I'll study a little bit more and give a more thorough.
No, I
And now
like that.
in regards to like the character that I resonated most with, I think the character in the show that I resonated most with has to be Victor, hands down,
Mhm.
because Victor came from a low-born upbringing. He comes in as an immigrant. He's not from the area. At least in the show, it appears like he's not from the area. He gets transported by this random dude, right? Like everybody's like, "Who is this random dude?" That
Mhm.
random dude, by the way, is one of my favorite characters in League of Legends too. In ARAM specifically, his name is Rise, and he's a wizard. Or again, somebody's gonna be crucifying. Oh, you're getting these terms wrong. Okay, he does something with magic, and like he loves knowledge, and so he gives Victor like this little used up mana chip, which that's what that is. It's a little mana chip in the game. Like when you're playing the game as a mage, you get to buy that in the beginning to get more mana. So to see that, like, it was like a draw, like a, what's it called, like a small little like Easter egg for like actual gamers. Like, oh wow, he gave him a little mana thing. Like, yeah, Victor from young, he was predispositioned to this kind of a mindset of excellence, of improvement, of trying to push the human legacy on. Literally, like that
Wait,
is his
if
character.
I remember correctly, Jace was the one who got the stain from the mage, right? Because him and his mom were trapped in the
You're
blizzard.
right. Okay, my fault.
Yeah.
My fault. Thank you
He
for
was
clarifying.
he
I
was the
was
one who
mixing it
was
up.
trapped in the blizzard, and then, like, so Jace was the one who was trapped. Victor, really
No,
wanted
he
it
did come
because he
from
had
Lowborn. I forgot how he came
yeah.
from Lowborn.
Victor came from Lowborn as well. He was also in the slums because, like, he had a mentor
Oh, he
previous to
lied. He
that.
was never he okay, yeah, he lied. Like
Mhm.
that's why he has the job. Okay, thank you for correction because I was mixed. See, I watched it 3 times, but that was last year. Okay, no, thank you for that. So
It's been
Victor
a
was the
while, I
one, but he
understand.
no, but Victor still is one of my favorite, and he's like for a time I mained him like actually in the game for quite a
How
time.
does he play?
In the game,
Yeah, because does he have the same lip and everything?
yes. So in the game, in the show, it doesn't show Victor as we know him in the game yet.
Okay.
So in the game, we see him like do you remember like when he's starting to like tinker with like the actual thing by himself, like with nobody else around, and
Yeah,
like
when he was
that
doing the
girl
science
comes in.
experiments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then that girl comes in or whatever, and then like after that girl comes in, like some weird like third thing like just comes out of nowhere, and he's like, "What is this?" Like
Oh,
in the
yeah, like,
game.
almost like Venom, like, basically
Yes, yes,
devours that girl,
yes,
yeah.
yes,
Mhm.
yes. So in the game, like that thing is its own entity. It's like
What?
it's like her pretty much. It's like, but in the form of like this thing, and like over time, he gets to learn how to control it. And as he learns how to control it more and more, it becomes like a science experiment. Like everything with him is almost like a science experiment. Like, oh,
Okay.
if I put more crystals in this area of the mechanism, like what is the conclusion, like what's going to happen. And so during the game, like after every 100 minions that you do, like you get to actually upgrade a piece of your equipment.
Oh,
So
that's
you
cool.
you start to like have like you pretty much start weak, but then like after every and every time you kill somebody, you get like 25 off rip. So like after every certain period of time, you get to upgrade yourself and
Mhm.
continuously. And so when you watch the show, you start to see the show as he's level 0. And as the show progresses, like everybody think of it like that. Everybody goes from level 0, and then like by episode 8, everybody has their ultimates. everybody
Oh,
has their
cool. Mhm.
everybody has their ultimates, and like they start with nothing and they have their ultimates, they have their special abilities. Like his arm thingy is
Mhm.
so epic because like he gets to patch himself up, which is so crazy. Like he gets
That
to fix
is.
himself, and then he gets to fix that. If somebody attacks that, he gets to fix that. And then it helps him essentially like rejuvenate because he's like a limpy dude who has like depression, low
Mhm.
anxiety, all this stuff.
Low
And like
self-esteem and all that as
as he
well.
meets
Mhm.
meets the girl, and he's like, oh my goodness, like I'm doing something, I'm being, I'm thriving in this place, like they don't even know I'm lowborn or whatever. Jace is like, they know I'm lowborn, but they don't care. That's why I
I
was
got the
mixing them.
juice.
That's why I was mixing them up, because it's like they know I'm not from here and they're okay with it, but like I don't I don't feel like I'm good enough at times to be here. And some of the like the purists are like, he's not a pure, individual. That's why Victor is like, he's like, they would know if they knew that I'm not from here, they would be like that. That's why I gotta make sure that while everybody loves me, while everybody cares for me, while everybody's like giving me these opportunities, I'm trying to like push this science thing forward as much as possible, which is why he was never scared to like ask everybody like, hey, would you be down for this science experiment? And after like everybody says no, he's like, damn, like that, what's the point of like living or whatever? You know what
He
I'm saying?
also has a term. It seems like they were hinting at extensively that he has like a terminal disease as well.
Yes. So the limp is like almost like a degenerative disease, which
Mhm.
is why one of my favorite parts of the show with like this emotional was like when he was doing the run,
Yeah,
because he was essentially told like you're never gonna make it out of Zon, you're never gonna make it out of the slums. Like you got a limp and you're in the slums and you're
that's
dumb,
rough.
you're not from here, you yada yada yada, you got no special talent, and it's like you knew this from the beginning. And then like to now fast forward, he accidentally sacrificed a human or whatever to now get powered up. And then like
Mhm.
in the story, like like think of like Iron Man. If Iron Man was willing to do something like that, that's who Victor is. If think of Iron Man, if Iron Man was willing to like sacrifice humans to like get an upgrade on like on his Iron Man suit or whatever, like
Mhm.
yeah, that's Victor. And he has like as the show progresses, which I hope in season 2, he actually creates a lot of the characters in League of Legends because his scientific discovery mindset is like mixed with like a unmatched desire to progress human innovation, almost like, dare I say it, almost on like some Germany level. Like he's willing to like sacrifice people in the name of science and purification. Like he like look at it like this. Like I read like this dude is so like enthralled with like trying to do things to the human race. Like he
Mhm.
had Neuralink before Neuralink was a thing, where
That's crazy, isn't
he
it?
was implanting like humans and people who were halfway dying with like, hey, look, you're halfway dying. Would you like to be a modified, genetically modified human being? Would you like to be? But you have to do everything I say, though. I said,
Mhm.
what do you mean? It's like I'm gonna insert a chip so that way you have undying loyalty to me. So
That is insane.
if you ever step out of line, yeah. So would you do that? It's like if you're about to die, like think. I don't care. Yeah, whatever. Boom, juice them up. And so a lot of the characters, maybe in season 2, a lot of the characters that might have died, not
Mhm.
just from Victor, because there's a lot of other characters such as that science dude that works with Shilko.
Yeah. Mhm.
Like that dude again, he creates a lot of dudes too. So like it makes you think like which characters, that are quote unquote are dead or haven't seen for quite some time are gonna reappear as the ultimate form of their League of Legends game, which is why it's so exciting because it's like the story is building and it's so good. And then these characters, if you play them, these small Easter eggs, like, oh, now this character in the game, like unlock their Q, unlock their
Mhm.
E, unlock their W, oh, they unlock their R, which is that was my favorite part of the show. Jinx at the end, she unlocks her R and she presses that R button, which is the ult. It's like, it's the game is over. Okay, but I'm getting too hype. All right,
Now,
back
so
back.
I got a
Oh,
question based on
go
what
for
you
it, go
just
for it.
said. You said unlock your R. Is that so? That's your special ability, right?
Yes, yes.
And so when you said unlock your R, I'm assuming so you're playing League of Legends on a mouse and keyboard. The
Hmm.
R is how you use your special ability.
Correct.
Okay, cool, cool. Making sure I got the
Yeah, so
termination.
essentially, like as the game progresses, like with every time you kill a minion, or every time you kill a person, or every turret, every dragon, every monster,
Hmm.
or being around those activities while it happens, you earn experience. And after every certain amount of experience, you get to level up your abilities. Every character gets 4 abilities
Okay.
plus a passive, which a passive you don't you can proc it, or just like it's like you get more health or more damage if this activity or whatever happens. Like again, Jinx is like
Oh.
if I hurt somebody within the next 3 seconds and then they die, now I get to run at 50% faster speed, and I get to do an attack speed of 50% higher. And people be, oh, that's overpowered. Yeah, but her hit box is like so small. So
Mhm.
she's nicknamed like almost like a glass cannon. Because as long as she can survive the game, like she's unstoppable. Because as long as she taps somebody and then they die, or another teammate kills them, now she gets to just run through everybody as long as she doesn't die.
Oh,
Um,
that's so cool.
and so when you see them play, like you start seeing like those kind of elements, like oh she's like oh she's doing a little bit slow. Well, yeah, she's just getting started. But as
Mhm.
soon as she knocks somebody out, it's like oh she's playing a little bit, or she's doing it a little bit faster, and she's doing it a little bit faster. Like when she was doing the game with the shooting, it's like yeah
Yeah.
she at first it's a little slow, but as she's doing it, it's like she's going faster and faster. And same with Vi too. It's again they got their own quirkiness to it, and that's part of their like actual their gameplay, like it's part of their game. Same with Echo, like they all have like these specific gameplays. Victor too, like he
Mhm.
becomes more aggressive as he gains more knowledge and experience, because now he's more confident in himself. Whereas before, when he was not as confident, he would never even think to be stepping up to like a Jace, never in a
Yeah.
million years. But the moment he got power in his hands, he's like, boy,
Mm.
I got that thing
Yeah.
on me. You don't want this. He's like, Jason's like, you acting a little funny. I thought we were partners. He's like, partners?
Mhm.
Boy, I did all this thing by myself. You were just the funnel. You just paid the intellect, boy. So yeah, that's like their mindset. And it's the aspect of the game. As you progress and you get stronger and you get stronger, you're not gonna take anything from anybody. Just
Yeah.
like Jace's girl's mom or whatever, like she gets to be how she is because she knows how powerful she is and how powerful Noxus is. She's like, man, if you don't listen to me, I'll tear this whole city down just with the people I'm with right now.
That is crazy, isn't it?
The people I'm with right now. Imagine if I bring the real army through here.
Mhm.
So y'all better do what I say. Bring me that magic crystal power or whatever thing. That's why it's like, man, the story is so understanding, because that's exactly how the game goes. That's how the characters level up. That's how their attitudes change too. Because when you see, like, think about like if you played basketball, like just
Mhm.
a sport that majority of people play. Think about you play basketball, but every time you're playing, you can't do everything. You can't just do a crossover. You can't just jump and shoot. You can't just block somebody. You have to quote unquote earn that ability. And once you
Yeah.
have that ability to jump, the ability to like block, to shoot, to dunk, now after every certain period of time, you have to wait until it cools down, because you can't just spam jump, jump, jump in real life. Like you have to actually wait. Your muscles aren't infinite. Your energy isn't unlimited, unless you're a broken champion, which some people are broken. What you see in the show, there's certain broken people that no matter what happens, like, man, this person won't die. Are they protected by League of Legends? Like, what's going on? No, they're just broken. Like, that's literally like one of the things with the game. Like, this champ is broken. Yeah, that's what they mean. Like, why won't this person die? It's because they're broken. And they do an amazing job of, again, it's all these small little Easter eggs from like, the backdrop of the city coinciding with the theme of a lot of the players' stories. Um, but yeah, so essentially it explores the origins and the backstories for all the champions. Now, for somebody that had no prior real thorough understanding of these characters, who they are, how it relates to the game, how good of a job or how bad of a job do you think League of Legends and Riot was in expanding the lore and world building of the game?
I think they did a phenomenal job. I mean, like, my biggest, I think one of the biggest, praises I can like possibly give this show is that it made me want more. It made me want to go explore to see if the main secret of League of Legends game was like just as fulfilling as the show. It made me want to get more of the IPs that we saw here. Like it made me want more in this universe. Like I think they did a phenomenal job. Like I can't wait for season 2. Like in the moment they announced season 2 like season 2 is coming out, my hope and my dream is that it's all out in one day, so I can mow through that bad boy and absorb it. Because if I have to wait week to week, I'm gonna be like crushed. Because
Fam.
it is so good. It is that good.
Yes, I'm gonna have to cosplay as Echo with my dreads. You know, go boy wonder. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now to you, what would you say is your moment in the show that made the biggest impression of like, man, this is good?
I would probably say it was the moment that Vi got out of prison. Like, the way Vi kinda got out of prison and then, like, the way that you got to see how she immediately comes back into play and has that impact. It's like, I was hyped to see her, and so, like, I think it starts, that episode off where, like, where the police girl is, going to go pick her up and to actually, like, interrogate her, and the moment she comes back into play and sees her sister for the very first time and what her sister had become, I'm like, let's go. That to me is probably one of my favorite, like, moments of the entire show, if I'm being honest. It was just the build up and lead up to her, like, meeting her sister again because, like, like, this show is a tale of two sides. It's a
Yeah.
tale of, like, like, Heads you could say Heads is one girl, like, Tails is another, but it's, like, their story and the way that, like, they interact with the world due to the
Mhm.
circumstances that basically either they caused or, like, the hand that they were dealt, and I love that. I love that, and the build up to her seeing her sister again and what, like, her sister had like, becoming from or her evolution from Powder all the way to what you call Jinx is, like, phenomenal, and I think, like, that level of storytelling right there is, like, the moment I live for and breathe for when I watch, like, shows like this, when I watch animes, when I play video games.
Right.
That's what I want to see. Like, I want to see that level of storytelling.
Now, how do you think Riot did, or League of Legends, how do you think they did
Mhm.
in regards to balancing out the time difference from building the story and making it an emotional impact, as well as putting in the action that we, the gamers, actually know about? How do you think they did in regards to balancing both of those out?
I think they did really well. I think one of the biggest compliments you can give this studio from the animation standpoint all the way to a story standpoint is that even though like this is a game that's primarily like an action based game, it's like from a storyteller perspective, like you go into this and you're always thinking about like I want to see the next big story beat more so
Mhm.
than I want to see the next action sequence, which they do a phenomenal job of like giving you those big bombastic action packed moments. It's just like that's not why you're watching this show. That's not like like sure, like a lot of people love those moments in the show,
Right,
but
right.
like you're not like for the most part, like no one's watching Arcane and thinking to myself, like, I'm about to watch a bomb ass action scene that's like a Dragon Ball Z level type action
Right, right.
sequence. They're watching this thinking to myself, I'm like, what's gonna happen when these two characters face off against each other? Are they going to go to
Facts.
blows?
Yeah.
Like, are they gonna go to blows? Is there gonna be, like, a big, like, "Oh my gosh," like, your sister, like, are these sisters going to bond again? Like, or is how does Echo come into play? Like, who's been oppressed this whole entire time? Can, like, everything go back to the way it was? Like,
Hmm.
or, like, when you see, like, with Vander and, like, the different like dichotomies of those relationships like sure you like wonder okay how are these characters going to get out of this like pickle that they put themselves in but you almost it's almost a snack so to speak like the action is a snack whereas like you
Mhm.
see all the storytelling and all the like character dynamics and the character evolutions and growth because I love me some good growth in characters
Right.
that's the meat and potatoes. That is like the actual meal that you're getting out of this show. But yeah, they did a phenomenal job of mixing all those elements together. For everyone out there who's on the fence about watching Arcane, thinking to themselves like, I don't know if that show is for me. Or like, all right, I've never played League of Legends. I don't listen to that. Like, don't listen to that voice in your head. Like, dive into this and really explore this world, really get to learn its characters, really get to like allow yourself to fall in love with the storytelling. Like I even though this is an animated type show, if you are a Game of Thrones type fan, like, and you love that level of storytelling, give Arcane a shot. Like, because that, like, the way they tell stories is very much like that Game of Thrones that you've been missing in your life. It really is. It's like
Right, right.
I've been missing Game of Thrones, and House of the Dragon, while it scratched that itch, is like, I know that's a few and far between type of show. So if you're looking for something along those lines, everyone listening, definitely give Arcane a shot.
Now, who do you think in the show had the greatest amount of growth?
Oh, that's a good one. That is a really good one. The greatest amount of growth. Oh, that is a really good one because mm, honestly, I would probably say, what is it? Is Mel Murata the character who is the cop character? No, no, that
Caitlyn is the
is
cop.
Caitlyn is probably the one who had like the most growth throughout the show of like learning like how
To be
where she comes from in life, and also seeing like the grand scheme of things because like
and
between
to be
like
more hood.
learning what the hood was actually like.
It's like, I gotta be police them, and it's like, girl,
Yeah.
you been playing with the academy boys or whatever. This is the real deal.
Yeah, it's like she legitimately went from escargot to eating Popeyes, and basically she did. She went from escargot to eating Popeyes,
And
and she was
loving it too.
yeah, and she was down for the cause. Like she ate some Popeyes, and then for breakfast, for lunch she ate some Waffle House, and for dinner she ate some Church's chicken. And she like her character growth was
Oh,
100% there. Like her and Vi are probably like the biggest like character growths, but like because in the opposite way, like Powder has the deterioration of a character. Like her character has a growth and evolution, but it's in the opposite way. So
mhm.
like that, like though any of those three characters, you can argue has probably the most growth in the show.
Hmm. Now, in regards to the show's underlying theme, what do you think the show was trending at, either at the beginning, middle, or end? Did you find that it was like a cohesive elemental story? Or because some people are like, oh, the fighting and stuff like that was so sporadic, they got distracted from the main story. So do
Mhm.
you find that there was like an underlying theme or like an actual story? Or do you think that it was just like stuff was just thrown out and it was just it made good per episode? Because it again, it's like the Game of Thrones esque. Some people have that issue with Game of Thrones where it's like it's
Yeah.
so long, it's an hour long, and it's like I don't find a theme, even though like we know that there's a theme, but like
Mhm.
it some people don't see the theme because it's like you're so fixated on the things that are right there. Did you find a theme? And if so, what theme did you
Oh
find?
yeah, for sure, for sure. I think the best. I don't I don't think things have good elements of storytelling unless they have nuanced themes, unless they have like layered themes. And
Right.
in this IP, you see, especially with Arcane, you see like the theme of oppression. You see the theme of like segregation. You also see the theme of like of elitism and such like that. You see like tons of different themes in this show. Like every episode, every situation has its own nuanced theme and that you actually get to explore. I mean, whether you get to see something as simple or as like as simple or like as complicated as the theme of like what the theme of like of prejudice there. I'm like the theme of like of socialization, and the theme of like nature versus nurture is another one you see in here. Like what would these characters be like if they were in a nurturing environment versus like an environment where they are the oppressed citizens? Like there's so many different themes there. You can get as heavy as you want to, and like overlaying themes all day and night with this show, because there's almost like I just listed some out, and I probably know I'm missing like 5 or 6. Like that's how complex this show is, to where like it is a theme of like just like there's themes, there's also lessons that can be learned. Like at any given point, you can you can point at any given character, and you can picture like either a theme circling around that character, or you can picture a lesson that is being learned or should be learned from that character. And so yeah, the level of storytelling here is absolutely superb. Like I mentioned, to bring it back to to bring it back to like the universe as a whole here, like
Mhm.
the same level of storytelling was told in like Mage Seeker as well, like in Silas. Like that's a game I recommend because like you mentioned it earlier when you gave like the overview of the world map there. Like that is a story in a sense to where like this is also a story of oppression in an Arcane. That is like oppression dialed up to 10 to where like you see the mark of like what it means to be like a slave or what it means to like fight for freedom and fight against oppression. Like the way League of Legends League of Legends overall tells its themes throughout these characters is just I wouldn't have believed it if you told me like 7 months ago that League of Legends was probably like one of the most slept on IPs when it came to storytelling. But like I can make that argument now. Like I can make the argument that League of Legends as one of the best storytellers in video games right now, in TV shows right now, in animation right now. And I can't believe I'm saying that if I'm being honest.
No, no, it's because it's true though. They have teams of writing, and like it's not just one person. They have teams of writing that actually like thoroughly created the lore of the actual world where throughout the timeline, like there's like a YouTube video where you can pull up like League of Legends timeline. It's like 9 hours long, and there's like a shortened version that's like 30 minutes long or whatever. I
Mhm.
listen to both because I like League of Legends. Obviously, the long one is super detailed. The short one leaves a
Mhm.
lot of information, but it's essentially another world, just like ours. It's just another world where you have like literally different continents that fighting each other. Like Noxus doesn't have time to take over Piltover and Zon because they're in like 7 different wars at
At the
once.
same time, yeah,
That's why,
that's
like,
crazy.
her mom, like, coming there and, like, she's just relaxing there, like, literally, like, that's her vacation. She's vacationing from war, and then she has to go back to fighting and managing and stuff like that. Like, the themes that I also see in addition to the ones that you mentioned,
Mhm.
because for this particular group of city, because I would say, like, it's based off of city,
Yeah.
honestly, like, based off of, like, the region, like, it's based off of the theme. Like, there's villains, there's, like, good people, bad people, there's neutral people, there's
Yeah, for
people
sure.
that are just let the bullies happen, like, they'll just let it happen, like, there's people that will, like, like, slinker away, like, retreat, and then, like, at a given moment and notice, like, power up, like Victor, and then, like, now it's like, now he's the man, and, I don't know if you noticed, but in the story, there was a dude, that had, like, weird glasses or whatever.
Yeah, the are you talking about the weird glasses who was almost like the scientist guy who was like he was like the old mentor to Victor?
Yeah.
He was the one who kinda taught him how to kinda, like, use the, like, stuff that was ended up, like, turning him into, like, the mutant type of creature, right?
Yep.
That guy with glasses?
Yep. And so,
Yeah.
like, those individuals, like, with that serum that the Silco dude,
Mhm.
that Silco's guy is doing or whatever, like, those individuals, they become empowered enough to almost essentially be just like with the magic thing. It's like it's like literally like it's like street math versus like pharmaceutical math. I was like,
Mhm.
it's different like levels of powers, but it's like, and it's like a war between two nations. And so when you have that level of world building where like every region has those level of conflicts. And so for that region, it's the elitism where it's like people are thinking I'm better than thou. And
Mhm.
because those regions have money, it's literally like in the real world, like where you have a police force that has trillions of dollars, it's way different than a police force that has $20,000. Like,
Yeah.
and you see it, and like they have so much money to police that nobody would even dare to go into the Piltover area unless they're trying to, literally die or just be, eternally like hidden away, which is exactly why they had so much money. Like you blew up somebody's important apartment building, which is a child of
Crazy,
somebody
right?
from the council, which immediately think of like that's blowing up like the president's child's like a room. It's like,
Yeah.
bruh, this is the president's child's room, or like the vice president or what. Somebody from the council is very important in that society, and so like you have that level of conflict. Same like now, like not to get political, but like with the underground, with the submarine thing, it's like the same
Oh
thing. Where
man, yeah.
we have like the pilt over people on an expedition to like something that's so far and dangerous, and like you have people from Zon that would be like, why not just give us that money? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you got people like Zon that would be like roasting, and then like you got people from Piltover like, how dare you not have any sympathy for like these
Mhm.
people? And so it's like now we're like transgressing into like that blurred line of like this is sci-fi and fantasy, but like it's so resonating. Like it's the music, like it's so like revolutionary, and it's like it feels so good because it's like some people are actually living this misery, and the show encapsulates exactly what they're going through. And I think that for me is like such an amazing theme of like the show is saying like we hear you. And I think it's because it's such a global game where people actually have told Riot like I'm going through a civil war in the Middle East, or in Africa, or in South America, or wherever, like and this is
Mhm.
how I escape by playing this game. And they're hearing this, and they're hearing, and like, and this character looks like me and sounds like me and they even talk like me, they have same interests as me, like, oh my god. And like this is the theme that I see like portrayed, and that's why like for gamers that played it, like, oh my goodness, like I've been playing this game from day one, like this player is like so not the meta version, there's people like that, like, and there's other people like, oh my goodness, like if this character is a playable character, I want to play. Like, how do they play? Like, it's so good on so many different levels that the
Yeah.
theme is just like so many, again, so many different layers. I couldn't explain it to you because like there's so much to explain. Like you have to peel so many layers, and in my case, I had to watch it so many times just to understand. Like, oh, I think I understand. Like this additional piece of layer, or this additional piece of information that they wanted us to understand about either like Echo, or like loving everybody, and at least having your own, like, hey, yeah, maybe we're not trying to like kill nobody, but like at least let us have our own area,
Mhm.
almost like literally like refugees, where it's like the refugee aspect of the story, the element where again, the capsized boat that got overshadowed by the
Yeah.
submarine, where you got literally refugees trying to run and escape from their oppressed location into what they think is the promised land, and they don't care that if during the journey, what I'm saying? Like, because in
Yeah.
their head, it's better. And that's why when you see the show, it encapsulates so much of that element. People, well, that's a terrible thing to, make money off of. But it's like media is going to be made regardless, one.
Mhm.
And two, you get to create the media that you resonate most with. And as you mentioned, like, who wouldn't want to see a show that has somebody that looks like them, talks like them, acts like them, plays like them, and then you get to decide, like, do you want to be them, or do you want? I like how they look, but I really like this other character. I like how they play. I like how they fight. Like, I like how Caitlyn looks, but I like how Jace fights. Or I wonder how does Heimerdinger fight? Like, if he's a fighter, like, what does he do? This
I
is an
can't even
old
imagine how
this
he
is an
plays in
old
real life.
man. Like,
Yeah.
how's this old 960-year-old man that's in the body of a Yordle? How does he fight? It's like, does he fight? Is he ranged? Is he melee? Like, what does he do? Does he transform? Like, there's so many aspects of the story that's why I really like it. As a gamer, I really like it. As somebody who loved Game of Thrones and loves world building and loves the character description, and loves like almost like you get to like see zoomed in like who this character truly is. And I think that the show does a really, really, really well in delivering that to us. And I did want to ask, like, as
Yeah.
a new person that is essentially getting really exposed to League of Legend, maybe not for the first time, but for the first thorough time,
Yeah.
what are some things that you might have said to yourself earlier had you had known like there's this amazing treasure trove of content and game?
I think I think like This goes back to who I am as a gamer. So, like I host the podcast, the Single Player Experience podcast, and I mostly focus on single player games during that show, and we also talk to developers about the games they're making and such like that. But for the most part, we also like we focus primarily on the single player games because like that's who I am as a gamer. So
Right, right.
I don't think if I had like a time machine, I'd go back and tell myself like, "Hey, you need to play League of Legends." But I do think if I were to go back and to tell myself something about League of Legends, it would be go back and read the comics. Like I think the lore,
Mm,
because I think that's the
yeah.
part that would probably
Ooh.
really ingratiate me into like the universe. As far as like as far as me going back and telling myself something about the game, it would
Mhm.
be like wait until now to actually like start playing the games of this
Mm.
universe because like
Oh, that's a
as
great
a
suggestion.
yeah, like as a gamer, like I think League of Legends right now, it's giving like Riot's doing a fantastic job of like partnering with other indie studios and making like
Right.
games in their universe that kind of appeal to a wider variety of gamers other than just people who like online multiplayer games. Like Mage Seeker is a action adventure game, very much feels like a 2D version of God of War fused with Hades.
Right, right.
The Echo game is a indie level platformer that feels almost kind of Celeste like for all the people who like Celeste, one of the greatest platformers of all time. Like it almost feels it has a lot of those like a lot of that vibe and essence from Celeste, but with a really cool like art style that feels more League of Legends. So I'd tell myself like, "Hey, like after you watch like if I was going back in time, I'd tell myself, wait until you see the show Arcane and then start playing these very good spin-off games from League of Legends, and that is what's really going to get you into that universe. But before you do that, if you want to warm yourself up to a universe that you're going to really, really, really fall in love with, you should probably like start reading these comics because I'm a big comic person myself. So yeah, I think that is kind of what I would tell myself if I had a time machine.
Now, do you think that because League of Legends just won
Mhm.
so many awards, did such a good job, do you think that they set the bar high for any other video game wannabe adaptation to a show or a movie or something like that? Or it was just because this is such a very well budgeted because they had a lot of money to throw at this
They did.
this is like the best that you're gonna get?
No, I think that's a really good question, first of all. So really good question. I think to answer your question though, I think like I don't think this is the best we're ever gonna get. I actually, like right now, and this is completely blasphemy considering we just gave the praises on League of Legends, the Arcane for this extensive amount of time. Like I think there's an argument that it's not even the best like adaptation we've gotten recently because like a lot of video game adaptations have been so good. Like it doesn't matter the genre. Like a lot of people love the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Right,
Like a lot of people really love that movie, and I watched it, really enjoyed myself. I don't think it's better than Arcane myself personally, but
right.
I the argument could be made. Like the argument could be made. Sonic the Hedgehog, both one and two. Like a lot of people really love that movie. The movie did really extremely well, and we also got to also shout out to something I really enjoyed and think is on the level of Arcane. We also got the Last of Us TV show.
Mm,
Phenomenal TV show.
yes,
Absolutely
yeah.
amazing video game adaptation. Is it 1v1 for what the Last of Us video game is? No, it's not 1v1, but it is a damn good adaptation. It has a lot of the core moments of the show. It has a lot of the same themes as the show. It has that found family dichotomy that we love to see and loved in the Last of Us video game. So yeah, I think we're just in a new age of video game adaptations to where like we're just going to keep seeing them get better and better, and I feel like the writing is what changed. The writing and the emphasis on putting a budget into it cuz like I don't know what are you a 90s kid?
Mhm.
Okay, so as a 90s kid, you remember the Mortal Kombat movies, right? like the
Mhm.
Mortal Kombat movies, the 80s movie, the 80s. They also had the Street Fighter movies and such like that. Like
Yeah.
they tried with video game adaptations, but they didn't really try. I'm like they felt like almost like they almost felt like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, to where like you felt like
Yes.
they did it just to kind of see what the test the waters out, but they didn't quite put a lot of effort into.
I think they
Now,
just didn't have the technology.
yeah, that's a good point.
I don't think the technology was up to par to what they were trying to do. And so
Mhm.
like I think at that moment in time, that was the best money could afford. Like in
That's
terms of like CGI, in terms of editing, like in all of that. Like remember gaming at that time, it was like so like it was like it's barely 2D. Now it's like you try to do a video game, and if it doesn't have 3D, people are like complaining, like, ah, this is not 3D. I don't even want to look at it, kind of thing. It's like, so at that point in time, they did what they could with the tech, because now the same individuals that get inspiration from when they watch that, they take into account like that's how they felt, but now they're taking those feelings and they're like connecting it with the technology and like revising it over and over and over again with the professional that can make that vision a reality. Because just look at the past like 5 years of technology, how crazy it went from like having like 1080p being the standard of like the highest resolution monitors to like now if it's not a 4K, people are complaining like, oh, it's not the best thing possible or whatever. And so we're encroaching that. So I think that you might be right, like we're nowhere near like what we're capable of. What I really want to know though is like, what do you think we are actually going to be capable of doing? Because if in the next year or two Arcane starts tapping into newer technology, whether in regards to CGI,
mhm.
AR, VR, 4K, 8K, even 4D, where I started seeing like crazy new technology, what would be your hopes? Again, if budgeting aside, you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
the freedom to like innovate. Like, hey, they're asking you for your advice. What would you say? Like, this is what I would like to see in season 2 or 3.
I think they're gonna stay the course. I think
Mm.
the same budget. I think for a lot of studios, I think it's a if it ain't broke, don't fix it thing. I don't see them. I don't see Netflix and Arcane and Riot coming together and saying like, "Hey, let's throw in like $20 more million towards this thing," when like this thing was a smashing success at its like regular price point. I see them just staying the course there. Like
Mm.
if anything, I could see them taking the money that like that extra 20 million and creating side shows. Like
Oh, that
you
would be amazing. Ooh.
Yeah, that's where I see like this franchise going specifically. But like to pivot off of that and talk about like where like the world what we'll see for future video game adaptations, like we're gonna see like it's already been announced we're getting God of War, the television show. Like
Mhm.
we're getting Ghost of Tsushima, the movie, which is a
Yep, yep.
phenomenal PlayStation exclusive. We're getting Horizon for like the Horizon Zero Dawn TV show done by the Netflix studio as well.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, so we're getting like adaptations and such like that with high budgets, with high premium people behind them. I don't know. The only thing I'm worried about right now with both like Arcane season 2 and 3 and with all those other adaptations I talked about is that the fact that we're in the writer strike right now. Like the writer strike is might have a huge part to play with how these projects
Ooh.
turned out. Like put it like this, I know a lot of people don't think like the writer strike is a big deal. Do you remember the show like Heroes back in the day?
Yeah, I
Okay.
I remember only like a few episodes, but I used to love that show.
Yeah, okay. So Heroes, Lost, Firefly all got affected by the writer strike. The Walking Dead, another one, kind of
Yeah,
got
I
hit.
remember Heroes and Lost too. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love Lost too. I watched more of Lost too.
Yeah, so like okay, so there was a point in Heroes when like a lot of people consider like that first episode to be one of the prime episodes of television, or
Yes,
especially of that era.
yeah.
Writer strike, so like it was doing well first season. Writer strikes hits. That show goes from being one of the most highly acclaimed shows to being one of the most like rotten shows out there, and in the span of one season. And it's because of the writer strike. It's because like the same people writing the later parts of that show weren't the same people who started off in the beginning. And the same thing is going to like a lot of people project the same things is going to happen with a lot of the shows we're seeing right now.
So essentially, like it's not like bad mouthing like the people who replace the people, but it's like
No,
saying
no.
like the best that you could get at the price point at what you were looking at that could fit the mold, you're unable to get because certain things that they're not agreeing with. Is it in terms of like, but is it in terms of a whole agency or it's like an industry? Because it's saying the
It's a
writers guild.
it's
So is that
a yeah,
one
there's a
agency that touches everything? Like what is that?
it's a writers guild. So like a whole collection, like say there's
So it's a
7.
writing monopoly. Like I'm so ignorant. Like I'm a League of Legends player. Like what? Like
Yes.
what is this? Like they have monopolized the writing. Like how can they legally do this? Like this is like Noxus. Like what in the world? We need to go to war again. Why is it monopoly? Like and anybody who is like guys, I have no idea. I am misunderstanding. I'm ignorant. He's about to explain it to me. I don't know.
It is like it is a lot more nuanced than that. So like imagine like there's a whole lot of agents in Hollywood, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like there's a whole lot of agents, and that means a whole lot of agencies. The same thing could be said with writers, and like they all come together, and they all like a lot of writers in Hollywood media and all that kind of stuff, like they work under a guild. Think of it
A union.
sort of like a union. And that's exactly right. Think of it sort of like a union, and that's to make sure they're not like being mistreated in such a that like
Oh, so that's
wages
just
are
the
high
that's the
up.
union name is Writers Guild.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's like I don't know the technical name for it. Let me make
I was
sure.
about to be like, man, that's such a like that's it's a throw off y kind of a name, like Writers Guild. Like, whoa, we about to rank up. We're about to grind tonight. Let's go. Let's go
Yeah,
to the
yeah, it
dungeon.
is.
We're the Writers Guild. Let's go. I'll be joining that guild. Come on now.
Okay, so so like yeah, the writer strike. The technical name, so right now is like labeled as the writer strike. But like if you think about it, like the one of the things that they're doing, one of the reasons why they're striking right now is because of the rise of AI technology. Like I don't know if you've seen GPT and
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff, but like it's able to write scripts now. It's able now. I'm not saying they're like great scripts or anything like that, but it is able to write scripts. It's able to write like news stories. It's able to write like press blogs and stuff like that. um so it is one of those things to where like writers are terrified about this, like like what happens if like AI can write a script that they would work on for 9 months, and it can do it in 5 minutes. Do you think you're still gonna have a job, you know?
Yeah, that's so scary because that is on everybody because there's like if everybody goes that route type of thing, like it's just gonna be literally like Victor, like
Yeah.
from Arcane, like everything is gonna be automated. So it's like, what is your purpose of existence, kind of thing? Like, you got to understand that by denying individual the opportunity to work and to earn a living kind of thing and to cater to the AI, then that means at some point you whoever authorized that you're going to be replaced too by I was like, well, I can't be replaced. I'm the director. Well, let me just create the director app because you took me out. Well, then I'm gonna retaliate and I'm gonna create an. Like, what's up? I don't need to know coding. You use the same coding to fire me. Well, I'm gonna use the same coding to create something that's gonna fire you. And that's literally like when I see like Victor, and that's why I really like him. When I see Victor, that's all he's been doing like throughout his life. Like he's like, man, from a kid, I saw Piltover, like this place where like the gods are, and like his description of it, like the same with like Kratos describing like what Mount Olympus would be like if he was there, like if I was there, the gods
Mhm.
kind of thing. It's like, and then once you're there, it's like, man, this place is just like where I was at before, just a little nicer. It's like, man, I would have been just fine being in Zon, but now that I'm here, might as well. And that's literally what I see what was going on in regards to like the whole situation and with AI, like you whoever cast the stone kind of thing, like you're about to get judged too. You think that
And
your job is safe. Wait until you get AI generated full feature length movies why would you need a director anyway? Like, it's gonna happen and it's gonna be good. Just like they started doing it with AI generated music, and rappers and executive producers, everybody started going up in arms about like, hey, you can't use my likeness without my permission. But it's like, it slaps. Like, who's to say like Arcane isn't like, hey, this episode was AI generated per Victor's request. Like, we don't know. We know, we have no idea. But I understand now how you're explaining it. That's a big domino effect.
It is a big domino effect, and then
Oof.
so to give a little more salt and pepper seasoning to what we were saying here, I do want to clarify the Writers Guild of America, the WGA, is a joint effort of two different American labor unions representing
Mm.
writers in films, TV, radio, and online media. The Writers Guild of America East, headquartered in New York City, is an affiliate with the AFL-CIO. So it is two different writers. It is two different union labors that are combining to make up the what we call the Writers Guild. And it does have that domino effect to where, like, I know you, like you said, AI is capable of doing a lot, but like there still needs to be that human element, as we are right now, of like, because AI can write something, but it doesn't necessarily understand like dialogue as well, or like it might mean you might have to change some story beats to actually make like everything fit. So we're not completely perfect with it, but it is just that scary element that it can replace jobs very soon,
Yeah, because
and very.
it's the process of math, like with
Mhm.
technology. It's like after every X period of time, it's just gonna get better. Like, when
Yeah.
did Chat GPT get released? And like now it's like somebody said it's like on its fourth version already. And it's like it's not even like a year old. And it's like, and it's already bought out by Microsoft. Like, Microsoft bought it out and already put it into Bing and put it into like a whole bunch of stuff. And now like everything has like some sort of AI version. Like, hey, do this and then do this with AI to do it better. Oh, you could just
Yeah.
upload your podcast, but you could upload and have it AI edited, and you could get your cover, you could get an AI and it's like everything is gonna be including that. So it's like, yeah, it's like it's almost scary. It's like we're literally watching. Like, that's why I'm like, Victor is like almost predicting the future kind of thing on some like predicting the next 5 to 10 years future, where it's like you're removing a human element that's like it's almost there. I said it like you're not supposed to even be tinkering or touching it, because it's like once you start that, like, you can't
It's
undo it. There is no
yeah, it's a
control
slippery
Z.
slope.
There's no control alt delete. You can't just like shut down. You can't hold the AI and just like power it down, because it's like you got millions of miles worth of like data called the internet that it's living in there. And it's like, and now we got people that are creating bodies of physical robots that they're just looking to include and imbued, like almost like an Iron Man physical kind of body, where you could just put a neural link, and like now this 3,000 pound robot that can lift like 30,000 pounds and that has blasters in its arm. Not saying this is a League of Legends player, by the way,
Yeah.
because there might be a League of Legends player like this, but I'm just saying, like, the future is looking a lot like Victor's storyland of like, this is how I want the world to live. I want them to be all mentally locked into me. Like, you can't do anything without AI. Just like with Wally. It's like yeah,
Wally.
like with Wally, like
Mhm.
all you see is everybody chilling on like their chairs or whatever, and they're doing everything. And it's like, watching a video, because the AI knows what you like, knows how to dress you up the way you like. You don't even gotta say it. You just press the button, and then the button on it's like that's where we're traversing towards the world. Very, very sci-fi very scary.
Mhm.
But it again, I like how the show shows it a little bit at the end. Like, I'm pretty sure the second season is going to dive in, especially as I mentioned, like the Iron Man kind of a character. Because I hope I saw during the show, I saw a silhouette, a few characters that I was like, oh, they're going to be coming out in season two. Um, which is amazing, because like a lot of like the cutscenes towards the end of the show, like you can hear a lot of their theme music, and it's like, oh, I know who's coming in season two. I know who's coming. So
Mhm.
it makes me really hype. but it gives me your explanation about the writers guild situation, it does give me like a introspective like understanding, like, man, a lot of stuff is going to be changing radically, because if there's like almost 11,000 plus people that could be without jobs, or like, and it's not like the 11,000 people are going to get fired right away, but it's like you're going to lose a lot of people over it could be a thousand per month, until like the
Yeah.
people who are left are the people who know how to use chat gpt proficiently. So if you out there are a gamer and productive, you need to be on the money with like all the stuff that, if you want to be anything in regards to, creative, like, yeah, you need to be on the ball. And if not on the ball, you need to be on the double down, like, I'm better than the AI. Like, because I think like at some point, it's just like with Piltover and Zon in Arcane, there's gonna be two sides to this coin. There's gonna be people who are like gonna, be on like this Terminator side. They're gonna be on the
Hmm.
the the Piltover side, like, yeah, use the technology, use the robotic dogs that will marginalize the black and brown communities, and it will kill on sight upon command just because you're unclean and are not worth this area. And then you got this other group of people that are like, bruh, like, we just figured out how to make money, and now you're gonna start like using what we started valuing called life. You're gonna just throw it away because now what we created from like the black and brown community, you're taking all this technology that we're creating from the STEM field. That's why I like Arcane. It's like we created all this information that then you took in your academies, and you use our like crappy information, and that certain scientists are like, damn, these are actually pretty good, let's use them to make weapons of mass destruction. Like, let's use the information that they provided using our MCAS, or like our standardized testing. Let's use all this and I'm like, man, like Arcane all has like these deep themes that are so deeply layered. Like, is this what is actually happening in the real world? Like, people are taking like kids ideas and whatever, and like you got people like Victor that are just like shifting through all this research. Like, people like him, he don't care if this research is vetted or not. He's just looking like, oh wow, this is a good idea. Well, let me try this
Hmm.
idea. Let me now tweak this, part of my arm, part of my body, my leg, or like into that person's body, that person's leg, that person's brain. Let me modify that, because at some point in time, who is going to stop when the first billionaire is like, I'm gonna, convert my body to 50% metal,
Android, basically.
yeah,
Yeah, I understand.
like it's like, oh, that might prolong my life. What if I replace all my organs in my body to be 100% inorganic material?
Yeah, yeah.
you know
It's one of the crazy things to bring it back to the writer strike and all that kind of stuff. It's like we are in a time to where like yeah, that could have some serious ramifications on like a show like Arcane season 2 or like Arcane season 3 for that matter. But like hopefully it won't. I mean, I would love to see everything continue as it has progressed throughout this show because I think this is a phenomenal IP. I told you before while we were recording. I can't wait to see more of what the Riot has in store for League of Legends and this universe. And yeah, I think this is a great. I think this is like a great example of how you can take something with a really intriguing like premise and really involve it into something that the mainstream population can really sink their teeth into.
and it's so intriguing because most people would never imagine that the show stems from a video game. First time
Yeah,
seeing it,
no.
I showed it to my family, and we're 30 minutes in, and then I'm like, "I got a confession to make." And it's like, "What's the
Hmm.
confession?" It's like, "This is from my favorite video game, the one I spend all the time streaming and gaming and creating highlights.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the game." And they're like, "No, it's not." It's like, I'm like, "Yes, yes, it is, but it's so good and it looks so different. Like, your game is top down." I was like, "They're not gonna make a story top down. Like, come on now." They're gonna make it like where you can understand it, and they're not gonna make. I mean, as of now, I don't know. They're not gonna make it live action to like, because certain characters aren't human. They're otherworldly, and they're not, again, they're not introduced yet. They're not there yet, or I don't know if there will ever be introduced because. Just as like a super spoiler, for anybody that's still watching, if you're still watching, please like, comment, and subscribe. But
Yeah, for sure. Show some
if you're
support.
still watching, there's a character that's a freaking galaxy.
That is insane.
Like,
That is absolutely
it's a
insane.
galaxy. And so it's like, how do you introduce a galaxy into like a world? Like that's why I said like, yeah, the majority of the characters are in this world, but like there's certain other characters that are not of a world or this world. They're like a galaxy, like an actual moving galaxy, like a dragon breathing galaxy, where the world that we saw on the map is in that galaxy, kind of thing. Like, and there's another one that it's like it's called the Watcher, like Watchers, where it's like these are like the entities that created everything.
Okay, so very
And so
Marvel-esque. Yeah,
yeah, so it's like
I get what you mean.
exactly. So it's like you can't I don't know how you would even introduce that into like this small subset, but that's why I said I agree 1,000% with what you were saying in regards to the ability that they could take this money and just start creating more and more different shows, from explaining who the Watchers are, how this world started of League of Legends, to like the more exciting games, excuse me, the exciting characters, or the ones that have like all the skins, like Lux. Like, oh, I would die to have a Lux story. Like, what? Like, I check out the comic that Marvel and League of Legends put out, guys. It is
Mhm.
100% free if you find it.
If
it,
you find it, it's hard to
it
find?
it is not hard to find, but it's hard to find the free version. The free
Oh,
version
okay,
is
gotcha.
on the Riot/Marvel website. I don't even know because I stumble upon it like every so often when I'm like, oh, where is it? Because when again, Marvel may hate me, but like you just search it up and like you got to pay for it when you go to like the
Oh.
Marvel website. But Riot has like the free version where it's the same thing on the web. It's like the PDF. They get
Mhm.
paid because you're on their site. There's advertising and all that stuff. So it's not
Yeah.
a pirated version, but you have to find that. It is very hard to find that one. But yeah, I really like how the show goes. I really like how the show encompasses not just the story for a game, but
Mhm.
gives us real world ramifications of like this could happen to you. Or a lot of people again are saying like this happened to me. I was a part of a conflict between two parties, in the same city that are going back and forth, like the Echo and Jinx thing, where it's like we're on the same team but not on the same side, if that even makes sense.
Yeah.
Like we're both against them, but we're fighting against us because we have on some like we have differing ideals, but we're on the same side. And it's like this human element to this amazing story where a lot of people can say, I really resonate with this character and I really, value this. Some people are like, because of the show, I'm going back to gaming this toxic game. Guys, if you don't like a toxic community, please stay away from League. and, and if you're going to play, don't play anything remotely competitive. Play everything that has nothing to do with competition, because competitive people are going to be competitive. Just like
That's so funny.
in basketball and soccer and football, some people are so competitive they hate losing. They will make you feel like you're worthless if you just block them. That's why when I play, guys, just as a heads up, the reason why I've done so well in League of Legends lately is because I just put everybody as an NPC in the game. You can actually do that. I didn't even know that
Huh.
was a thing. You can actually go in the game and like change their name so that way the game only says that they're, like this is Echo. It doesn't say that, Nico Penguin, gamer score 15, da, 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 da. So when they're talking, it's just like Echo says, F you. And it's like, oh wow, Echo from the show. Amazing. Good team. Good team
Good
spirit.
seeing you.
I like it. I like it because in the community, it's already know like you're not supposed to be nice. So it's
Mhm.
like people are naturally going to be mean to you. You just can't take it the wrong way. You got to look at it like it's Vander telling you, like, hey, don't do that. But like, if you do that, be good at it. Like, man, you
Okay.
suck. But if you suck, at least get a kill or two. Like, come on, man. So I, all this to say that the show did an amazing job. I think it more than lived up to the hype because it got Jid, it got Radioactive. I mean, it got Imagine Dragons on there. It had a lot of different cast members, people from different walks of life participating in the show, from the behind the scenes, the
Mhm.
the music, the almost like orchestra, the theater work on the set. Even the behind the scenes was so amazing. But thank you so much for joining us on this episode today, Sebastion. It's been phenomenal. This is one of the longest episodes for a gamer's guide to productivity. We definitely explored the captivating world of Arcane. We
Yeah.
even gave a little bit of like a educational mapping of like the worlds of Arcane. If you guys really liked it, let me know which country, if you're a noob to League of Legends, which country is most like the USA in terms of the League of Legends world. Uh, just drop a comment below. We hope that you enjoyed the in-depth review and analysis of the show, and that hopefully it's inspired you to reflect on, the powerful storytelling that you see every day in regards to branding and its potential impact on your own gaming journey in your own everyday life. Definitely don't forget to subscribe to the podcast for much more discussions. We might have to make it a routine every 10 episodes or so to bring Sebastion on over. It's already the third one. We're on episode 23. Might as well make it much more formal. We're going to have to figure something out and just figure out new topics to discuss each and every time, because it's such a good episode. We have to time block because we
Yeah.
just ran. There's so much content. Definitely check him out. I'm gonna give him his opportunity to leverage himself right now. But definitely don't
Okay.
forget to subscribe, guys, for much more practical tips on how you can become a productive individual utilizing your skills and experience as a gamer. So Sebastion, let us know where we can follow you, like you, and support you.
All right. Thank you so much for the plug spot here, Nico. Like, yeah. If you liked what you heard from me, throughout this episode, you can definitely check me out at the Single Player Experience Podcast, the premier podcast for single player gamers to find about the good single player games to play and how to manage your video game backlog. Yeah, just like the conversation here, we do a lot of deep dives into video games, specifically some of the new games that I'll bring in like an expertise into a video game category, and we'll do a deep dive into games like The Last of Us, Metroid Prime, Gears of War, just different types of games and such like that. And we'll dive into it and let you know who is that game for and whether or not you should have it in your video game backlog. So if that sounds like anything that's up your alley, definitely go check out the Single Player Experience Podcast. And before we go, Nico, what video game would you recommend people to check out other than League of Legends?
I would definitely, guys. I would never recommend League of Legends. That's for hardcore gamers only. Like, I'm
Okay.
being for real. That it's like recommending like a Call of Duty lobby to somebody. Like, that
Mhm,
is so hard. Like, you got to be a tough gamer.
mhm.
But yeah, I wouldn't recommend League of Legends unless you got a PC and you really want to get your butt spanked enough, and then you get better, because you only get better the more you get your butt spanked. I'm gonna just keep it real.
Yeah,
If you
for
guys
sure.
want to Arcane is amazing, I want to play League of Legends. Okay. If you don't want to get your butt spanked and you want to dominate, I would actually recommend you to play Wild Rift. It is the
Oh.
mobile version of League of Legends, 100% mobile version. It is authentic. There's only like 30 champions on there so far, so it doesn't
Mhm.
have the full roster because a lot of the champions are very complex. And they're
Okay.
trying to figure out a way to like make it a mobile version of how to make the champion. So right now it's only the champions that are already like able to play on the mobile version. It's very fun. It's way easier. So for people who have like a tough time like just getting spanked like 0 and 15, like yeah, you're not really gonna go 0 and 15 unless you go to the competitive side. Which when you go to the competitive side in any game, you're gonna have people who can drop 50 points. It's basketball speaking, they can drop 50 points in the NBA, but they'll go into like the lowest bracket of competition to spank you. Just be aware
Okay.
that that will happen from time to time. Hopefully, if you are a natural talent, you'll be the one that will be doing that. And then you'll be like, okay, this is too easy. I'm beating everybody. Well, that's when you go to the competitive mode. When it's too easy, when you're getting like 20 kills and like barely dying, that's when you have the idea like, okay, I think it's time to like see who can actually make me earn my kills kind of thing. So definitely Wild Rift. Now, if it's nothing League of Legends related, I would say chess.
Just your old chest. I like
No, I'm
that.
joking.
That's a good
No, I'm
throwback.
joking. For if it's non League of Legends related, it's so hard because League is just such like an addiction and like a time suck of like
Mhm.
focus. Like I rarely like do anything other than League because it's such a time suck. Anything League related is just like I'm so intrigued. Now I gotta pull up my list of games here. Yeah,
Nah, it's all good. I was just
yeah, I
curious if you
deleted
had
I
one.
deleted everything for League. It's like I feel like I'm cheating just even thinking about this, man. Like I don't want to cheat on League.
I
Like
understand.
before League, I was a first person player. So
Okay.
I would play games like like MMORPGs where it's like me versus a thing, but then I can bring people along. So I'll play games like Path of Exile.
Okay.
I'm a grinder, so I would like just like this podcast, like I would play 3-4 hours just like grinding Path of Exile, just like hammering out the same thing over and over and over again. Which is why I'm like, wait, there's people that they play League of Legends and they can make money as a streamer. I was like, what? But you got to be nice at it. I was like, but that
Yeah.
just requires putting in a lot of work. I was like, bro, I could put in a lot of work because before that, I was doing that with like NBA 2K. I was doing that with FIFA. I would just do my career like I wasn't playing competitively because I hate playing with somebody who beats me. Like I'm just like not even lying. I just hate when people beat me. So I'm like, why? Where can I go that's gonna get my desire to play a sport, but I can actually like improve? And that's like, well,
Yeah.
if I do my player, I can run in the game. Like, yeah, I'm running, sitting on the couch. You know what I'm saying? Or sitting behind the keyboard. Like, yeah, I'm running, I'm scoring, I'm doing everything. So I would say, follow your passion. The RPG game that I did play the most though was Skyrim. I did play Skyrim the most.
Okay.
I played both versions of it, the single player keyboard and the VR headset version. And I
Hmm.
will say, I only put like I think it was like only 70 hours in on the keyboard, and I put like 15 hours in on like the headset, and it was so scary because like the dragon, like I set it up to like 2K, so like the dragon was like crispy HD. I know it's fake, but like when you're in there and like you're forgetting that you're in a virtual world, it's like you're about to get cooked.
Yeah, for sure.
And like I'm getting cooked out here. Like, is it hot? Or it's like I'm just getting embarrassed that I'm losing to this dragon that's fictitious. But yeah, that's what I would recommend. What would you recommend for your game of choice if it's
Yeah.
outside of your area?
Yeah, I mean, for single player gamers listening to this episode, definitely check out the Mage Seeker League of Legends story. Yeah, even especially if you're interested in all like Arcane's got you interested in like exploring more of the League of Legends universe. I definitely recommend that. It's a good single player game to definitely dive into, especially if you like games like Hades and old retro God of War with a Diablo spin to it. So definitely check that out, everyone. Yeah, outside of that, you can find a lot more recommendations at the Single Player Experience podcast. Nico, man, thank you so much for having me on the show.
No, thank you. Like I said, we're about to make this a regular. So until next time, everybody keep gaming, keep leveling up both in the virtual world and in the real world. If you need any content until the next interview, make sure to check out nicopingan.com for today. Like, comment, subscribe. Take care and have a great rest of your day.